When God rises you, those who once doubted you will wish they treated you better. You see, the world has a way of overlooking the potential in people. And often, those who don't see your worth are the very ones who underestimate your future. But there's a divine process at work. The same people who once dismissed you will later stand in awe of the greatness God is about to reveal in your life. Understand this: when God lifts you, it's not just about your personal success. It's a reflection of His power, His favor, and His timing. People may mock your dreams, belittle your ambitions, and even try to block your path, but they don't realize that you are under the influence of a higher power. The one who has spoken over your life is not a man, but the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And when His hand is on you, no force can stop what He has set in motion. There will be those who doubt, those who talk behind your back, those who pretend they never knew you. But when God promotes you, the same ones who refuse to acknowledge you will have no choice but to recognize what they missed. They will see that you were not the one who was lost, but rather they were the ones who didn't see the value of what they had in front of them. When God elevates you, it will be clear that your journey was never about pleasing people. It was about fulfilling the purpose He placed inside of you. You may have felt rejected, overlooked, or abandoned, but remember that God was working behind the scenes. He was preparing you for the moment when you would rise above your circumstances, above the opinions of others, and above the challenges that tried to hold you back. They may have thought they could break you, but what they didn't understand is that every setback was just a setup for God's comeback in your life. Every moment of pain, every moment of rejection was God's way of refining you. They thought they were keeping you down, but all they were doing was making room for God to lift you higher. When God elevates you, it's not just a change in position, it's a transformation in purpose. You were never meant to stay where you were. God had a plan for your life that would unfold when the time was right, and now the world is about to witness the manifestation of that plan. Those who once doubted you will watch as God moves you into places they never thought possible. They will see the anointing that has been placed on your life, and they will wish they treated you better when they had the chance. So don't be discouraged by the people who tried to tear you down. Instead, keep your eyes on God, keep your faith strong, and trust in the process. For when He rises you, no one can bring you down. When God is ready to elevate you, not only will they wish they treated you better, but they will also realize that you were always destined for greatness. When God rises you, it's not just a change in your external circumstances, it's a revelation of what has always been inside of you. People may look at you in your current state and fail to see the potential for greatness, but God sees you for who you are destined to become. They may not understand the dreams you have, the vision you carry, or the strength you possess, but that doesn't change the fact that God has a plan for your life that is beyond their comprehension. Your journey of transformation may not make sense to those who only see the surface, but in God's eyes, it is already a finished work. They may judge you for your past mistakes, your setbacks, and your struggles. They may dismiss you because you don't fit their idea of success or because you're still in the process of becoming. But understand that God is not confined by people's limited vision of who you should be. He is not bound by the opinions of others. When God decides to rise you, everything that has held you back will no longer matter. He will make sure that the world sees what He has always known about you. The world may have missed your potential, but God never did. The very ones who doubted your abilities will be the ones left in awe when they witness the fullness of God's plan for your life unfold. They may have overlooked you in the past, but when God rises you, their eyes will be open and they will realize that they were wrong. The greatness within you that they once failed to see will now be evident for all to witness. You won't have to prove anything to them. The favor of God upon your life will speak louder than any words they ever said about you. So when people doubt you, when they overlook you, when they fail to see the greatness within you, remember that they are not the ones who define your destiny. God is. And when He decides to elevate you, they will have no choice but to see the greatness that they once missed. When God elevates you, it's not just about personal success, it's about the divine timing and favor that He has placed on your life. You see, God's plan for you is not subject to the opinions of man, nor is it determined by the speed at which the world moves. The world may tell you that you need to achieve success quickly, that your breakthrough must happen immediately, and that if you aren't where you want to be right now, you've somehow failed. But God's timing operates on a different scale. It's a timing that transcends human understanding, a timing that is perfectly orchestrated to ensure that when He lifts you, everything is in place for you to fulfill your destiny. While people may look at your life and question why things are taking so long, what they don't see is the preparation that God is doing behind the scenes. He's not just preparing your environment or your circumstances, He's preparing you. God knows that your elevation requires a level of spiritual, emotional, and mental maturity. He knows that you must be fully equipped to handle the blessing, the responsibility, and the challenges that come with His elevation. If God promoted you too soon, you might not be ready for it. But when the appointed time comes, you will be positioned exactly where you need to be, with everything you need to succeed. This is why God's timing is never premature, never too late, but always right on time. He is orchestrating every detail of your life to ensure that when you rise, it will not just be a rise in position, but a rise that will last, a rise that will sustain you. His timing ensures that you are not only elevated, but also protected, because the higher you go, the greater the responsibility and the greater the spiritual warfare. God's elevation in your life will come at the right moment when He knows that you are ready to handle the weight of the blessing He's about to pour out. While others may rush, feel impatient, or even criticize your pace, trust that God's timing is never a mistake. When He lifts you, it will be a sign of His perfect plan and divine favor. His elevation in your life is not a random event. It is a moment that has been destined for you, a moment that was set before you were even born. It will happen at the time that will not only benefit you, but will also impact the world around you in the most powerful way. When God rises you, it is a divine moment, one that comes after years of preparation, prayer, and perseverance. And when it happens, it will be clear to all that it was not by your own effort, but by the will of God. He will rise you in a way that will make people realize that His timing was always perfect, even when it didn't seem that way to them. So don't rush the process, don't be discouraged by delays, and don't let the opinions of others sway you. Trust in the perfect timing of God, for when He rises you, it will be worth the wait. When God's hand is on your life, no one can stop the plan He has for you. There are times when you will face opposition, when people will rise against you, when the enemy will try to sabotage your progress. But what they don't understand is that they are fighting against a force far greater than anything they could comprehend. The world may try to block your path. They may criticize your decisions or even try to shut you down. But when God has marked you for elevation, no force on earth can stand in the way of His will for your life. People may attempt to impose limits on you, label you, or even discard you, thinking that they can control your destiny. But what they fail to realize is that you are not bound by their judgments or their restrictions. You are operating under the power and authority of a higher source, one who holds the universe in His hands. No matter how hard they try to stop you, they cannot override the plans of God for your life. When He opens doors, no man can close them. And when He decides to rise you, no opposition can diminish your potential. There may be moments when you feel like you are fighting alone, when it seems like the world is against you, and when the path ahead looks uncertain. But that's when you must remember that your battle is not against flesh and blood, but against forces unseen. And with God on your side, you are always on the winning side. The enemy may throw obstacles in your way, but God has already made a way for you to overcome them. Every challenge you face is not a setback, but a setup for the breakthrough that is coming. Every attempt to hinder you is simply God using those very obstacles to propel you to the place where He wants you to be. What they don't realize is that by trying to hold you down, they are only preparing you for the next level of your destiny. God uses opposition to strengthen your character, to refine your faith, and to prepare you for the blessings that are on the way. The same people who try to block you will eventually see that their efforts were in vain. You are not the one who will be defeated. He who is in you is greater than anything they could throw at you. When God's hand is on your life, it's a guarantee that His purpose will prevail. No matter how powerful or influential your opposition may seem, it cannot defeat God's plan for you. When He decides to elevate you, it's not about your strength, your connections, or your abilities. It's about His will being done in your life. And His will is unstoppable. So when people try to stand in your way, when they criticize, mock, or even try to shut you down, remember that their efforts are powerless against the might of the Almighty. God is your defender, and when He rises you, no force can ever take that away. When God lifts you up, those who once doubted you will be the very ones who will have to acknowledge the greatness that has been manifested in your life. It's a hard truth, but one that you must hold on to. The very people who dismissed you, rejected you, or overlooked you will, in time, see that they were wrong about you. They may have judged your potential based on their own limited understanding, but when God's favor is upon you, it's undeniable. The promotion He brings into your life will be so evident that even those who once doubted you will have no choice but to witness it. People often fail to recognize your worth because they only see what is on the surface. They measure success by worldly standards, by titles, positions, or wealth. But when God elevates you, it is not according to those superficial measures. He sees the potential in you that others fail to recognize, the purpose, the dreams, and the unique gifts He has placed within you. His elevation in your life isn't about meeting the world's expectations. It's about fulfilling His plan, which is far greater than anything anyone could imagine. And when that plan is revealed, those who once doubted will see the power of God at work, and they will realize they misjudged you. This divine elevation will not only be a personal triumph, but also a testimony to everyone who watched you struggle, who belittled your dreams, and who underestimated your abilities. You don't need to prove anything to them. Your rise will be proof enough. The favor of God on your life will be so visible, so undeniable, that they will be forced to recognize it. They will look at you and realize that the person they once ignored or dismissed is now standing in a place they never thought possible. Your rise will make them reconsider how they treated you, and they will have to face the reality that they failed to see what was inside of you all along. And let me tell you, it won't be just a casual recognition. It will be a profound moment for them, a moment of realization that they missed something precious when they had the chance to see it up close. They will have to look at you and admit that they didn't see what God was doing in your life. Your elevation will shine as a testament to the fact that God doesn't elevate based on popular opinion. He elevates based on purpose. And when He has chosen you, no one can prevent the unfolding of His plan. What is even more remarkable is that God's timing is perfect. He will elevate you in such a way that those who doubted you will have no choice but to witness His greatness in you. They may have seen your struggles, your failures, and your setbacks, but when God's favor rests on your life, every obstacle will become a stepping stone. What they thought would hold you back will only serve to push you forward. And when it happens, they won't just acknowledge your success, they will recognize the hand of God in your life. So don't be discouraged when people doubt you. Don't be disheartened when others fail to see your worth. God has a plan for you that no one can alter, and when He rises you, they will see it. They will witness the blessing, the favor, and the power that has been poured into your life, and they will know that they missed the opportunity to treat you as you deserve. When God rises you, the world will know that His favor and His timing were worth the wait. When God rises you, the world will see not just your success, but the undeniable evidence of His divine favor upon your life. People may have dismissed your dreams, your abilities, and your potential, but what they fail to realize is that the blessing on your life is not something that can be hidden or ignored. When God's hand is on you, it doesn't matter how long it took to get there. The moment of elevation is a clear sign that God's timing is perfect and His power is unmatched. It won't just be a small rise or a temporary change. When God elevates you, it will be evident to everyone that He has done a work that no one else could have done. It's important to understand that when God raises you, it's not just about what you have achieved on your own. It's about the transformation that He has brought about in you. It is not just the outward appearance of success, but the inner work that He has done in your heart, your mind, and your spirit. God is not interested in simply giving you a platform to show off your skills. He is interested in developing your character, your integrity, and your strength. This is why when God elevates you, the world cannot deny it, because it's not just about where you are, it's about who you have become along the way. People may try to attribute your success to luck, timing, or even your hard work alone, but when God is in the equation, there's no mistaking that the hand of the Almighty is at work. They may say that you've gotten ahead because of your connections or your effort, but when you know that it was God who opened the door, who made a way when there seemed to be no way, and who kept you when others tried to tear you down, then you can rest assured that their opinions don't matter. Your rise is a testimony to the fact that with God, all things are possible. There will be those who watched you struggle, who saw you face rejection, who witnessed your setbacks, and yet they will be the ones who are most amazed when they see what God has done in your life. They may never have believed in your potential, but when God begins to elevate you, they will see that what they dismissed as impossible was actually part of God's divine plan all along. They will see that the obstacles you faced were only setting you up for a greater purpose. What looked like failure to them was, in fact, preparation for your success. They will witness God's favor manifest in your life in a way that no one could have predicted. And when that moment comes, when you rise to the place where God has destined for you, there will be no room for doubt. They will have to admit that there was something different about you all along. They may have tried to keep you down, to doubt your abilities, or even to stand in your way, but they will realize that God's favor cannot be contained by the limitations that others tried to place on you. Your elevation will be a living testimony to the power and the faithfulness of God. It will prove that when God has called you to rise, no one, no matter how hard they try, can keep you from fulfilling your purpose. Your rise will not be just for your benefit. It will be a witness to those who doubted you and a reminder to them that God's plans are always bigger than anyone can fathom. It will serve as a message to all who see it. What God starts, He finishes. What He has promised, He will deliver. And when He rises you, the world will not only see your success, but they will see the glory of God shining through you. When God elevates you, the very people who once overlooked you or mistreated you will have to come to terms with the fact that they missed the opportunity to appreciate your true value. The way people treat you in your moments of struggle is often a reflection of their limited understanding and vision. They may fail to see the potential inside of you and instead judge you based on your circumstances, your current state, or the challenges you are facing at that moment. But what they don't realize is that those circumstances are just temporary. They are simply the testing ground where your faith, perseverance, and character are being refined for the greater purpose that God has planned for you. It's easy for people to pass judgment when they see you in your low moments, to make assumptions about your abilities and worth when you're not yet where you want to be. But they fail to understand that God has already written your future. He knows where He is taking you, and He has equipped you with everything you need to rise to that place. When you are down, they might ignore you, mistreat you, or even belittle you, but when God begins to elevate you, their opinions will no longer matter. Your rise will force them to acknowledge the greatness that was always there, even when they couldn't see it. What's even more powerful is that God will use the very people who once mistreated you as part of the process of bringing about your elevation. The same individuals who doubted you will have to witness the favor and success that God brings into your life, and they will be left with no choice but to confront their past treatment of you. They will see that the person they once overlooked has now become someone they can no longer ignore. And this realization will often be uncomfortable for them, because it will force them to reflect on how they treated you, how they underestimated you, and how they missed the opportunity to support and value you when they had the chance. You may have been treated unfairly, looked down upon, or rejected at some point, but when God raises you up, He does it in such a way that even those who once treated you with disdain will be forced to acknowledge His work in you. They will see the results of His favor, the evidence of His promises fulfilled in your life, and they will have to admit that their judgment was flawed. Their inability to see your worth will serve as a reminder that only God knows the true potential inside of you. Their failure to recognize your greatness was never a reflection of your worth. It was simply a sign that God had something greater in store for you, and that the time for your rise had not yet come. But when it does, they will be left standing in awe, realizing that they had no idea what God was doing behind the scenes. Your rise will be a reminder that God has a way of turning the tables. Those who once overlooked you will find themselves in a position where they must look up to you. And this isn't about revenge. It's about understanding that God's plans for your life are bigger than anyone's opinion of you. His plan for your life is always in motion. And no matter how others treat you, his purpose for you cannot be stopped. When he rises you, the world will see the manifestation of his divine favor, and those who doubted will have to acknowledge that they were wrong to underestimate you. God will elevate you, not for your glory, but to show everyone that when he calls you, no one can stand in the way. When God begins to elevate you, it's not just about your external circumstances changing, it's about the transformation that happens within you. The elevation is not merely a rise in status, wealth, or position, it's a shift in your inner being, in your mindset, in your character. God doesn't elevate people based on superficial traits. He elevates those who have gone through the process of refinement, those who have endured hardship with faith and perseverance, and those whose hearts are aligned with his purpose. Your elevation is not just a blessing, it is a sign that God has shaped you, tested you, and made you ready for something greater. And when people see the change in you, they will understand that your rise is not just the result of luck or chance. It is the fruit of the work God has been doing inside of you all along. People may have seen you struggle, seen you face rejection and hardships, and perhaps they thought that you would never make it. They may have judged you by the circumstances they saw on the outside without understanding the power of God at work on the inside. But when God rises you, they will not just see your success, they will see the person you have become. They will see the resilience that was built through trials. They will see the wisdom that came from learning hard lessons. They will see a heart that has been purified by suffering and a soul that has been strengthened by the trials you have faced. The elevation is not just for you, it is for those around you to witness the power of God at work in your life. This transformation is critical because God is preparing you for a future that is beyond anything you could have imagined. He's not just opening doors for you, he's making you ready to walk through them. The struggles you faced and the rejection you've endured were not for nothing. They were all part of the process of God shaping you into someone who could handle the responsibility that comes with his elevation. When you rise, it won't just be a personal victory, it will be a reflection of God's ability to transform lives, to take someone who was once overlooked or dismissed and turn them into a vessel of his glory. And when that transformation happens, those who once doubted you will be left in awe because they will see that your elevation is not just about external success, but about the depth of character, the strength, and the faith that have been forged in you. They will have to acknowledge that you didn't just rise because of your own efforts. You rose because God was with you every step of the way. The greatness they see in you will be a clear testimony to the fact that it was not by your might or power, but by his Spirit. People may have seen you at your lowest and thought they had you figured out. They may have seen your struggles and your failures and assumed that you would never make it. But when God lifts you, they will see that your story was never just about your circumstances. It was always about the God who was shaping you, preparing you, and making you ready for the destiny he had in store for you. They will see that the person you have become is the result of divine work, and they will know that it was God who has taken you from nothing and brought you into greatness. The transformation that takes place when God elevates you is not just about your achievements or your accomplishments. It's about your heart, your spirit, and your ability to now carry the weight of the blessings he has prepared for you. And when people witness this transformation, they will understand that what they saw in you before the doubt, the struggle, the rejection was never the final chapter of your story. It was just the beginning of a greater work that God was doing in you. And when the world sees the finished product, they will be left in awe, knowing that only God could have brought you this far. When God begins to elevate you, it is not just about raising your status or improving your situation. It's about positioning you in a place where you can be a reflection of his glory, his grace, and his power. It's not just about receiving blessings for yourself, but about becoming a vessel through which others can see the greatness of God. The elevation is not for your glory, it's for his. When God raises you up, he is using you to demonstrate his power, his faithfulness, and his ability to take what the world might overlook and turn it into something extraordinary. The people who once underestimated you, who looked down on you, will see that your rise was not just about personal success. It was about God's plan being fulfilled in your life. They will see that your elevation serves a greater purpose. It will remind them that God does not look at the outward appearance, but He looks at the heart. It will show them that God is able to take the most unlikely person and bring them to places they never thought possible. Your rise will be a testimony to them that God's plans are always bigger than what the world perceives. Moreover, when God elevates you, it will challenge the limitations that others have placed on you. Those who once dismissed you or tried to hold you back will now see that God has shattered those limitations. They will realize that their perceptions of who you were or what you could become were based on human understanding, not on the divine potential that God has placed within you. The elevation that God brings into your life will shatter the boundaries they once set for you, and they will have to admit that what God has planned for you is far greater than they ever imagined. This process will also challenge their understanding of success and the path to greatness. The world often judges success based on achievements that are seen or celebrated publicly: money, fame, titles, or status. But when God elevates you, He does it in such a way that it defies the conventional measures of success. Your success won't just be about the tangible things you gain. It will be about the transformation that occurs in your life, the way you handle adversity, and the way you walk in faith. People will have to see that true success is not about what you accumulate, but about who you become through the process. God's elevation in your life also serves as a reminder that His ways are higher than our ways. People may try to place you in a box or decide what you're capable of based on your current circumstances, but God is not bound by those limitations. His plan for you is so much bigger than anything they could have imagined. And when God elevates you, it will be a clear demonstration of the fact that His power and His wisdom surpass anything that the world could offer. It will be a reminder that His timing is perfect and that He alone knows the right moment for your rise. When God begins to elevate you, it's also a call to those who doubted to re-examine their own understanding of the world. They will see that your success was not a fluke, but a result of divine favor and purpose. They will have to come to terms with the fact that their assumptions about you were wrong, and in doing so, they will be forced to acknowledge the truth that God has a plan for every life, and that His plan is always greater than human perception. This is the power of God's elevation. It doesn't just lift you, it lifts those around you, because it forces them to see the truth of who God is and the limitless possibilities that come when you align yourself with His purpose. Your rise will be a revelation, not just to you, but to everyone who has watched you, doubted you, or mistreated you. They will be left in awe, knowing that the transformation in your life wasn't just a result of your own efforts, but because of the divine purpose that God had placed in you from the very beginning. Your elevation will serve as a message to everyone that no matter how long the journey, no matter how many obstacles you face, God's plan will always prevail. And when He rises you, it will be undeniable to everyone that He is the one who made it possible. When God elevates you, the transformation that takes place in your life will also be a powerful lesson for those who once mistreated you. They will be forced to acknowledge that their perspective of you was incomplete, and in many cases it was wrong. The people who overlooked you or treated you unfairly often did so because they judged you by the circumstances of the moment or because they underestimated your potential. What they didn't see, however, was the divine purpose that was unfolding within you, a purpose that was not dictated by their opinions or their limited understanding. As God lifts you up, they will witness firsthand that what they once saw as weaknesses or flaws were simply part of the process of God refining you for the elevation that was coming. They may have thought that your struggles defined you, that your failures were permanent, or that your circumstances would always be your reality. But God had a different plan. He was working behind the scenes, shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for greatness. Now, when you rise, they will see the fruit of that divine preparation, and they will realize that they misjudged you, and more importantly, they misjudged the work that God was doing in your life. But this realization goes beyond them simply recognizing that they were wrong about you. It's also about their understanding that their treatment of you had consequences. The way they dismissed you, overlooked you, or mistreated you will come back to them in ways they may not have expected. They will see that you were never the problem they were. They will see that their failure to recognize your worth was a reflection of their inability to see the potential that God had placed in you. This realization will often lead to discomfort, as they will have to reckon with the fact that their actions may have delayed the process of your rise, or worse, hurt you in ways that could have been avoided. However, this moment of reckoning is not for you to seek revenge or take pleasure in their discomfort. It's not about getting back at them or rubbing their mistreatment in their faces. The elevation that God brings into your life is not meant to be a weapon for your personal gain, but a testimony to the faithfulness of God. When God elevates you, it is an opportunity for everyone involved to see His glory in your life. Those who mistreated you will have to confront the truth that God's purpose for your life is greater than their perceptions or their actions. They will have to face the reality that when God decides to elevate someone, no one can stop it, not even the people who once treated them poorly. This process of acknowledgement is important because it brings healing. When people see that God has raised you in spite of their mistreatment, it forces them to reflect on their own actions and how they have treated others. The rise you experience will be a reflection not only of your journey, but also of the lessons that others need to learn. They will realize that their failure to appreciate you earlier was a mistake, and in some cases it might lead to them reaching out to make amends. God uses your elevation to bring about a shift in the hearts of those around you, showing them that humility, kindness, and respect are crucial in how we treat one another. Furthermore, the elevation will force them to recognize that your rise is not about them, but about God's purpose for your life. It will remind them that no one can stand in the way of God's will. They may have thought that they had control over your future, that their treatment of you could limit your potential. But when God decides to elevate you, there is nothing and no one that can stop it. The people who once mistreated you will come to realize that your success is not about seeking approval or validation from them. It's about fulfilling the calling that God has placed on your life, and His plan for you will always prevail, no matter what others may say or do. In the end, when God rises you, the people who once treated you poorly will be forced to face the reality that they missed out on the opportunity to support you. They will have to live with the knowledge that they could have been a part of your journey, that they could have been a positive influence in your life, but instead they chose to reject or overlook you. And while their acknowledgement may be painful, it will also serve as a reminder that God is always at work, even when others can't see it. His plans for you are unstoppable, and when the time comes for your rise, it will be undeniable to everyone that it was His hand that brought you to where you are. When God elevates you, it's not just about the material possessions, the accolades, or the visible success. It's about the transformation in your heart, your character, and your purpose. As God raises you to new heights, those who once overlooked you, dismissed you, or treated you poorly will see that your rise was not only inevitable, but also a divine process. You see, when God elevates you, He does not do so based on the world's standards. He doesn't elevate you because of your perfection, your qualifications, or your public achievements. God elevates you because He has placed a unique purpose in your life, a purpose that no one, no matter how hard they try, can stop. They may have thought that your journey was a result of luck or that your success came from your own ability. But when God raises you up, it will become apparent that the hand of the Almighty is on your life. It won't be just about the things you've gained. It will be about the incredible shift in your being, your outlook, and your ability to touch the lives of others in a way that no one else can. The elevation God brings will be a sign to everyone that your success was never dependent on their approval, their limitations, or their perception of you. They will see that God's plan for your life was far greater than anything they could have imagined, and that their mistreatment of you was simply a small part of a much larger and more glorious story. When God raises you, it's not just about the people who mistreated you. It's about everyone who has watched you from the sidelines or who has doubted your potential. Your elevation becomes a powerful message to them all that God is faithful and that He can take anyone, regardless of their past or their circumstances, and use them for His glory. Those who once looked down on you, those who thought you were insignificant, will now see the proof that God had His hand on your life all along. Your rise will be a testimony to everyone who ever underestimated you that God's plans are always greater than human understanding. At the same time, when God elevates you, he also reveals something about the people who treated you unfairly. The elevation that comes through divine favor will show them the difference between worldly success and godly elevation. In the world's eyes, success is often about how much wealth you acquire, how high you climb, and the titles you earn. But when God elevates you, your success is measured not by what you've gained, but by who you have become in the process. Those who mistreated you will see that true success doesn't come from a place of selfish ambition, but from a place of humility, service, and alignment with God's will. They will see that your elevation wasn't about climbing over others or proving your worth through competition. It was about fulfilling the calling on your life, and that calling was one that no one, not even them, could stop. Your elevation will also serve as a powerful reminder to those who mistreated you that God does not forget his promises. They might have thought that they could disregard you, that your dreams were too big or your ambitions too bold. But God will show them that he has a plan for every life and that no one can thwart the purposes he has set in motion. As you rise, they will see that their judgment of you was not only wrong, but that God was working on your behalf the entire time. And even if they don't acknowledge it right away, your rise will be a living example of the fact that God's timing is always perfect and his plans cannot be thwarted by the opinions of man. And while your rise will serve as a lesson to those who mistreated you, it is not for you to revel in their discomfort or shame. The goal is not to celebrate that they treated you poorly, but to show them that God's justice prevails. God elevates you not for your own glory, but for the purpose of reflecting his power, his grace, and his truth. When they witness your rise, they will not only realize that they were wrong about you, they will also have an opportunity to repent and change their hearts. Your elevation becomes a bridge for them to see the truth of who you are and ultimately who God is. In the end, when God elevates you, the people who once mistreated you will see that their actions were part of a divine plan. They will realize that God had already positioned you for greatness long before they came into the picture. Your elevation will remind them that they should never underestimate God's power to change anyone's life, no matter how unworthy they may seem in the world's eyes. And in that moment, they will wish they had treated you better, not because of the position you now hold, but because they will see that your rise was the fulfillment of a promise God had made to you long ago. In conclusion, when God elevates you, it is a powerful reminder that his plans for your life are far greater than the limitations others try to place on you. Those who once mistreated you will be forced to recognize the hand of God in your journey, and in doing so, they will see that their actions did not define your destiny. God's purpose for you was never contingent upon their approval, but rather on his divine plan and timing. Your rise will serve as a testimony to everyone around you that when God is for you, nothing and no one can stand in your way. And while they may regret how they treated you, it is not for you to seek revenge, but to continue walking in the path that God has set for you. Your elevation is not just about your success, but about reflecting God's glory and showing others that he can do the impossible. So keep moving forward, knowing that as God raises you, he is also using your life to teach the world the power of his love, grace, and purpose.